Hey and welcome to this jazz guitar lesson. We're going to do a harmonic analysis of the chords to I Can't Give You Anything But Love. My last lesson covered the chord shapes and the form, the order of the chords and all that. If you missed that, link in the description. So we're going to go through the chords and try and work out what's going on and how they relate to each other. First off, let's establish the key. Looking at my chart, we've got 1 sharp. So that's the key of G major. Now what chords do you get if you harmonize a G scale? Well, in sevenths you would get G major 7, A minor 7, B minor 7, C major 7, D7, E minor 7, F sharp minor 7 flat 5, G major 7. Now, when you're playing swing tunes, quite often those 1 and 4 chord will be played as 6 or 6/9 instead, but the structure is still the same, right? We could call that, it's G6, A minor 7, B minor 7, C6 or C6/9, D7, E minor 7, then the F sharp minor 7 flat 5 back to a G6 or a 6/9 as I'm playing there. So there's that first just to think about. Now let's look at our chart and see how many of those chords we can find. With the Roman numerals, I've labelled the ones that are in key as blue and the ones that are out of key as red. So of those chords in the tune we get G6, right, so that's chord 1. We get G/B, which is just an inversion of chord 1, not as a 6th though. So that chord's in there. Have we got chord 2? Yes, we have. A minor 7's in there quite a few times. We haven't got a B minor 7, but sometimes people will play B minor 7, by the way, instead of the G/B. We've got a C6/9, so we've got a 4 chord. Definitely got a 5 chord, a D7. No 6 chord as E minor 7 and no 7 chord. So we've got quite a few of those chords here, but obviously got some others which we need to explain. So looking at the first A section, we start out on chord 1, G6. Then we go to an inversion of chord 1, which in Roman numerals is like a 1, then with a little 6 next to it. And then this next chord's out of key. You can kind of hear it, like, we go. Sounds a bit weird, but then we go to A minor 7, it sounds good. So what is that chord? B flat diminished. Well, the third chord of the key of G, as we saw a minute ago, is B minor 7, right? So anything built off this, we're going to call it, off this B flat, we're going to call it a flat 3. And in this instance, it's a flat 3 diminished. That's what that little circle degree sign means. So chord 1, G6, chord 1 inverted, flat 3 diminished, chord 2, A minor 7, chord 5, D7. We do that all again. 1, first inversion, flat 3 diminished, chord 2, chord 5. Now just if I play the A section going into the B section, hopefully you can hear that it is a departure. It's coming in, down, there. So when that D minor 7 comes in, it's out of key, right? The D we expect in this key is D7, so that's out of key. G7's definitely out of key because G6 is our chord 1 or G. Then C6/9. Now C is chord 4 in this key, right? But I'm sure you played a few jazz standards by now. You'll know that D minor 7 G7 is a 2/5/1 in C. Like that. So it's the D minor 7 is like a departure. We're moving away. We're bringing in this out of key structure, this 2/5/1 from another key to move somewhere else. So D minor 7, so that's 2, G7 chord 5 to C 6/9, which is like 2/5/1 in the key of C. You could look at that also maybe as 2, 5 from the key of C, and then it's helped us move to chord 4 in the key of G, right? And then A7. Well, we don't get A7 in this key, we get A minor 7. Now this is a secondary dominant. Any dominance you get other than the 5 chord in the key you're in is a secondary dominant. So D7 is the dominant we expect in this key. So any other is a out of key dominant, a secondary dominant. A7, out of key. So that's a 2/7 because it's a dominant chord built off the second note of the key of G. Now that A7s like to work their way towards Ds because A7 is the dominant of D. And that's what we'd do, but we'd do it via A minor 7 and D7. And that's what the A7 is for. It's all about getting to that D7. So we got B section 2-5-1 in C, secondary dominant 2-7, which helps us get back to 5. We need to get to D7 to enable us to get back to G for the start of the next A section. The next A section just brings together everything we've already had, but in a condensed form. Chord 1, 1 inverted, flat 3 diminished, 2, 5, and then the 2-5-1 in C. Remembering that C, this is where things get a bit confusing, right? So 2-5-1 in C, but C is also chord 4 in the key of G, right? It's kind of, I think of it as more like the D-7, G7 is just, you're playing a 2-5 to make a stronger resolve to chord 4. Now, it's really common in a lot of these old standards to go to chord 4 for the final section. All of me, say, for instance, does that. You know, it starts out in the key of C, and then that last section goes to an F major, which is chord 4 in the key of C. And as you can see on the chart there, I've labelled that C69 as 4, just because really that's where we're getting to. It's about that B section starting on chord 4. Sorry, C section. So that's C section, chord 4, and then this out of key. You can hear this diminished chord's desperate to get somewhere. Lovely sound that. So that's a sharp 4 diminished. Why is it a sharp 4? Because the note C is where we build our 4 chord. Raise it, that's a sharp 4. Put a diminished on it, we're going to call it sharp 4. Then we're going to go to chord 1 in key, and so obviously our tonic chord, and then E7. So that could be chord, you could call that by a couple of things. You could call it 6-7, which would say that it's a 6 chord, but it's a dominant. Or you can call it the 5 of 2, because E7 likes to go to A minor, which is what it does. So we've got chord 4, C69, sharp 4 diminished, chord 1, then E7, the 5 of 2, then we get 2, A minor 7, 5, and we get a little turnaround here. You could do many different things here, but this one works well. G6, chord 1, sharp 1 diminished, 2, 5, which enables us to go around again. You could also do, instead of that G sharp diminished, A minor 7, D7, you could replace the G sharp diminished with an E7. That would work too. You could even replace the G. There's a couple things you could do there. You could do B minor 7, E7, A minor 7, D7, G/B, G/B. You could use the bit from the verse, G/B, B flat diminished, A minor 7, D7, or even G/B, G sharp diminished, A minor 7, D7. That's what I've got written, or all different ways of achieving the same thing, right? Just a nice movement at the end of the form to kick it all off again. So that's how the chords are working. So say we're largely diatonic, meaning we're largely in key. You know, there's not too much there that's pushing the harmony. You know, you've got that movement to kind of the sense of moving to C in the B section. That A7 sort of bring a bit of brightness and a rise, and then you fall back to the key of G. That C section with that, you get the rise C to C sharp, and then the 4 from G to E. You know, that's how you want to sort of hear these things and understand them. Couple things people like to do, just passing chords. Say in that C section, G69 to E7, you might go, or like 4 down into it chromatically, G69, and I'm doing 2 beats on the G69, then F sharp 7, F7, then E7. So also in the tune when it goes D minor 7, G, C, you might want to go, if I did the C up here, I could go D minor 7, G7, C, and then go, which is C, C, B7, B flat 7, A. That's quite nice, just sort of makes a sort of slicker move into that A7 there. So some practice points. Obviously in the previous lesson we covered the chords, the chord shapes, so hopefully you're getting those down, you're getting familiar with those. And in this one we're just trying to think a little bit about how the chords are working. There may be lots of terminology and things I've used today, like things like flat 3 diminished, secondary dominance, which, you know, just require further investigation for you to get, but make, you know, learn these standards and start to learn what's going on you start to see the parallel cases between them. Like I said, the end of this is like, feels like all of me, right? The use of the secondary dominant, the use of a 2-5-1 from another key. If you just play these chords and you just learn them and you play them and you don't have a grasp of what's going on, you're missing. Well, you're making it a longer, harder run for yourself, I think. Anyway, leave me a comment, hit that like button. You got any questions, you let me know. All the resources, links in the description. There's also a link to my Buy Me a Coffee page. I hope your practice is going well. As I said, the next video, or I didn't say actually, the next video will cover some ideas for soloing over these chord changes, so be sure to check that out. Jazz Guitar Lessons as ever, every Wednesday and Saturday. Until next time, you take care.